The city never slept anymore. Neon lights flickered against broken glass, and the streets carried whispers of fear. No one wanted to talk about the war, but its shadow hung over every door, every alley, and every trembling hand that clutched a weapon in secret. For humans, survival meant silence. For aliens hiding among them, it meant something worse: betrayal. The young human moved through the rain-soaked road, shoulders tense, as if he already knew someone was watching. His name didn't matter to most, not yet. To the world, he was only another survivor, a face lost in the crowd. But tonight, destiny wanted him to step out of the shadows. He didn't want to be chosen, but choice was a luxury war had stolen from everyone. He turned into a narrow street, but stopped when he heard soft steps behind him. His breath tightened. Instinct told him to run, but something else, a strange pull, made him turn. That was when he saw her. A girl unlike anyone he had ever seen before. Her silver hair glowed faintly, even in the dim light. Her skin was pale as moonlight, flawless, and her ears were sharp, marking her as not human. She was beautiful, dangerously beautiful, but her wide eyes carried terror deeper than the war outside. She whispered only one word: "Help." The boy froze. He had seen aliens before, always at a distance, always spoken about with hatred. They were said to be the reason the war had started, the reason humans were starving, the reason the world was breaking. But standing before him was not an enemy. She looked like someone running from the same nightmare he was trapped in. Behind her, heavy boots struck the ground. Soldiers, not human soldiers, armored enforcers of the galactic order. The girl clutched his arm without waiting for permission, pulling him into the shadows. For a moment he almost resisted, but then he saw the cold eyes of the patrol sweep past them, searching. They were not hunting random rebels tonight. They were hunting her. When the patrol moved away, he finally found his voice. "Why are they after you?" She looked at him as if the question had no answer she dared give. Then she said, "Because of my family." Her voice shook. "And because of the secret they fear will destroy them." The words meant little to him, but the weight behind them made his stomach twist. Before he could ask more, a small figure stumbled from the darkness. A child no older than 5, with the same pale skin and pointed ears. The girl's arms went around him instantly. Her brother, or maybe her son. The boy couldn't tell. But he saw how tightly she held him, and how desperately she looked back at the human. "They will kill us," she said. "Unless you help." Every instinct screamed at him to walk away. He had nothing to give. He had no power, no army, not even food to last the week. Yet, looking at the child, he felt a pull stronger than fear. Maybe because the boy's wide eyes reminded him of every orphan he had seen in this broken city. Maybe because, for the first time, someone looked at him not as useless, but as the key. He didn't say yes, not with words. He only nodded once. That was enough for her. They moved through the back streets, avoiding patrol lights, until they reached the ruins of an old library. She guided them inside, and only when the silence felt safe did she finally speak again. Her hands trembled as she brushed the child's hair from his face. "My family," she said, voice cracking. "They are not what you think. The Order is afraid of us because of what we carry. A secret older than this war, older than even their empire." The boy didn't understand. He wasn't sure if he wanted to. But he knew one thing. The secret wasn't safe anymore. Not if the Order was hunting them this desperately. He stared at the alien girl, at the child, and at the shadows that seemed to press closer on the ruined library. He didn't ask why destiny had chosen him. He only felt the truth settle in his chest. Whatever the secret was, it would decide more than their lives. It would decide the fate of the war itself. The ruined library was cold, its broken windows letting in the night wind. The human boy listened to the alien girl's breathing as she tried to calm her younger brother. The child clung to her side, eyes wide, as though the shadows themselves were ready to grab him. The boy wanted to ask questions, but the fear in her face told him this was bigger than anything he could imagine. She finally spoke. "You don't know who I am, do you?" He shook his head. "Only that you're being hunted." Her lips tightened. She seemed afraid to say more, but then she looked at her brother as if she owed him the truth. "My family once ruled. Long before this war, long before the order rose, we held something they could never control. They tried to erase us. But we survived. I survived." The human didn't understand. He only saw how her voice trembled when she said it. She wasn't boasting. She wasn't proud. She was haunted. "And now they want what's left of us," she whispered. "They want the secret my blood carries." The boy frowned. "What kind of secret?" The girl hesitated. Her hands moved to her brother's shoulders, holding him as if he were more fragile than glass. "A secret that can end them," she said softly. "Or end everyone." The words struck him like a knife. He wanted to demand more, but before he could, the sound of boots echoed outside. The patrol had returned. Their voices were sharp, their scanners humming as they searched the ruins. The boy acted before thinking. He pulled the girl and child deeper into the library, guiding them down into the basement where old stone walls still stood. Dust and mold filled the air, but it was shelter. They crouched in the darkness as lights swept through the broken windows above. The child whimpered, but the girl pressed her hand gently over his mouth. She looked at the human, her eyes begging him for strength. He didn't know why, but he nodded. Slowly the patrol moved on, leaving silence behind. When it was safe again, the boy finally asked, "Why me? Why ask for my help? I'm no one. I can't fight them." She stared at him, her pale hair glowing faintly in the dim light. "Because humans are not what they believe," she said. "They think you are weak, broken, only survivors. But I have seen the truth. I saw what your kind did when the first battles began. I saw how humans fought even when outnumbered. And I know," she paused, as if weighing her words carefully, "I know that only a human can protect what we carry." Her voice shook. "You are the key." The boy wanted to laugh at the madness of it. Him, the key to anything? He had no weapon, no training, not even food in his pocket. But the way she looked at him, like he was the last line between her family and death, made his chest feel heavy. The child tugged on his sleeve then, surprising him. The boy's wide alien eyes were full of innocence. "Will you keep us safe?" the child asked. The human hesitated. He didn't want to promise something he couldn't give. But the silence stretched, and he couldn't bear to see the child's fear. Finally he said, "I'll try." It was enough. The girl smiled faintly, a smile full of exhaustion, but also relief. "Then we may survive the night." As dawn began to creep through the cracks in the ruined building, the human felt the weight of what he had agreed to. He wasn't just hiding refugees. He was holding a secret that could destroy empires. The girl finally told him her name. It sounded soft, melodic, unlike human words, and yet it carried strength. She told him her brother's name too, and he realized this wasn't just about them. This was about a family that had been hunted for generations. "They think they destroyed us," she whispered. "But as long as one of us breathes, the secret lives. And now, they know we are still alive." The human stared at the rising light through the broken glass. His life had been simple before, just surviving, just avoiding the order, just trying to see another day. But now he was caught in something far greater. The girl touched his arm gently. "If you stand with us, they will come for you too. You will be hunted, same as us." He looked at her pale eyes, then at the child still clutching her side. He thought of the patrol outside, of the cruelty he had seen in their marshes. He thought of all the times humans had been treated as pawns. Then he said, almost without meaning to, "Let them come." The girl's lips parted in surprise. Then slowly, she nodded. For the first time, the boy felt a strange fire stir inside him. Maybe he was nothing before tonight. But now, he carried something bigger than himself. Something worth fighting for. Above them, the city buzzed awake, unaware that in the ruins below, a fragile alliance had just been forged. An alien family with a secret that could tear the galaxy apart, and a human who had just promised to protect them. The war outside was no longer distant. It had found him, and it had only just begun. The human woke to the sound of distant explosions. The morning light that crept into the ruined library carried smoke with it. The war outside was spreading closer. He rubbed the dirt from his face, but when he looked over, the alien girl and her brother were already awake. They hadn't slept much. Their eyes told the truth. Sleep was dangerous when enemies never rested. The girl stood near a broken shelf, holding the child close. Her silver hair caught the dim light, and her pointed ears twitched at every sound. She was alert, fragile, but also ready to fight if needed. The boys saw it in her stance, the way she clutched a small blade that looked older than both of them. The child, meanwhile, sat silently, his little hands folded around a piece of old cloth as if it were treasure. The boy cleared his throat. "We can't stay here. They'll come back." The girl nodded. "The Order never gives up." She hesitated, then added, "They can smell bloodlines. They have hunters who track by heritage, not by sight. They will know where I am." The boy frowned. "Then we move before they find us." It sounded simple, but when they stepped out into the broken street, reality struck hard. Patrols swarmed every corner. Drones hovered like vultures above the neon-lit city, their scanners glowing as they swept across rooftops and alleys. Posters glowed on cracked walls, images of the alien girl's face, her pale features framed with red warnings in languages the human barely understood. She was no longer just hunted. She was wanted. The boy grabbed her wrist and pulled her back into the shadows. "They've marked you," he whispered. Her lips trembled, but she didn't argue. She only held her brother tighter. The boy's mind raced. He had lived his whole life slipping past patrols, dodging scanners, avoiding the Order's grip. But this was different. They weren't hunting random rebels anymore. They were sweeping the city for her, and anyone caught helping her would be executed. His chest tightened, but the thought of leaving her was worse than the fear of being caught. They slipped through side streets, moving like shadows. Once, a drone's light passed so close that the human felt heat on his skin. He pushed the girl and child into a doorway and pressed against them, holding his breath. The child whimpered softly, but the girl cupped his mouth gently. When the light passed, the boy let out a shaky exhale. They moved again, finally ducking into an abandoned subway station. The air was damp and full of rust. Old trains rested silent in the dark, covered in dust and graffiti. It was a graveyard of human progress. The boy had always hated this place, but now it felt like the only safe corner left. The girl looked around, uneasy. "You know these tunnels?" He nodded. "They run beneath the whole city. If we're lucky, we can use them to escape the patrols." She glanced at him with something like respect, then lead. He lit a small lamp he had kept hidden in his pack, its glow barely enough to pierce the dark. They walked in silence, the sound of dripping water echoing against the stone walls. Each step felt heavier, as if the shadows themselves pressed down on them. After what felt like hours, the boy finally asked, "Tell me the truth. What is this secret they want? Why? Risk everything for it?" The girl stopped walking. Her brother clung to her leg, looking up at her as if he already knew the answer, but didn't want it spoken. She closed her eyes for a moment before whispering, "It is not just a secret, it is power. My family carried something the Order could never control, something inside our blood. They call it the Source. If they capture us, they will twist it into a weapon. And if they fail," She shuddered. The source itself could destroy them. That is why they cannot let us live. The boy felt the weight of her words like a stone in his stomach. He didn't understand what the source was, but he knew one thing. If it was real, it was worth killing for. And dying for. A sudden noise snapped them back to danger. Footsteps. Dozens of them. The boy grabbed her hand and pulled her into the nearest train car. They crouched behind broken seats as the sound of armored boots grew louder. The order had found the tunnels. The girl's breath came fast, her blade clutched tight. The child buried his face against her chest. The boy, however, searched the dark for anything useful. His hand brushed against a rusted metal pipe. It wasn't much, but it was something. The soldiers entered the station, their lights sweeping across the walls. Voices barked orders, scanners buzzed. The boy tightened his grip on the pipe, heart pounding. He wasn't a fighter, but he had promised. He couldn't let them take her. Not now. One of the lights drew closer, sweeping over the seats. The boy pressed himself lower, holding his breath. He could hear the soldiers breathing, feel the vibration of their boots against the floor. Then, suddenly the child sneezed. The sound was soft, but in the silence, it was thunder. The soldier turned sharply. The beam of light cut across the dark, landing on the girl's silver hair. The boy didn't think. He leapt forward, swinging the pipe with all his strength. Metal met armor with a sickening crack. The soldier stumbled back, shouting. Chaos erupted as the others turned toward the sound. The boy grabbed the girl's arm. "Run!" And together, with the child clutched tight against her, they fled deeper into the tunnels as the order's hunters thundered after them. The tunnels shook with every step as the alien girl, and her brother ran deeper into the underground maze. The sound of boots echoed behind them, louder and faster. The order's hunters were skilled, their scanners glowing red in the dark like angry eyes. The boy's lungs burned, but he didn't stop. He couldn't. If he slowed, they would be caught, and he had promised he would not let that happen. The child clung to his sister's neck, silent but terrified. The girl's blade gleamed faintly in the weak lamplight as she ran beside the human. Her silver hair flowed behind her like a streak of moonlight in the dark. She was beautiful even in fear, but her beauty was nothing compared to the fire in her eyes. She had chosen not to hide anymore. She had chosen to survive. A sharp voice rang out behind them. "There! Don't let them escape!" Bolts of plasma lit the tunnels, burning into the walls. The boy pulled the girl down, covering her brother with his own body as sparks rained around them. His heart pounded in his ears. He had no weapon, but the broken pipe still clenched in his hand. Against armored hunters, it was nothing, but it was all he had. The girl grabbed his arm. "This way," she shouted, pulling him toward a side tunnel. They stumbled through, the ground sloping deeper, the air turning colder. The hunters' lights grew smaller behind them, but their voices still chased through the darkness. Finally, the tunnel opened into a vast cavern lit by old, flickering lights. The boy froze when he saw figures moving in the shadows ahead. For a heartbeat, he thought it was more soldiers. But then one stepped forward, a human, scarred and older, with armor that looked pieced together from scraps of wars long past. His eyes were sharp and suspicious. Behind him, others emerged, men and women, all human, all armed, survivors, rebels. The boy raised his pipe, though it was useless. The older man stared at him, then at the alien girl. His jaw tightened. "You brought one of them here?" His voice was low, dangerous. The boy swallowed hard. "She's not the enemy. They're hunting her. She has a child." The rebels stirred uneasily, some raising their weapons. The girl stood tall, though her chest heaved with exhaustion. She stepped forward, holding her brother close. "If you hand me over, they will kill us. But if you hide us, they will kill you too. I will not lie to you." Her honesty struck the cavern into silence. The older man's eyes narrowed. "Why should we risk our lives for you?" The boy finally spoke, louder than he intended. "Because her family carries something the Order fears. Something they're desperate to bury. If she's captured, the war is lost before it even begins." The rebels muttered among themselves. The older man studied the girl for a long moment, then sighed, his scarred face heavy with memory. "You're telling me the secret's real. The stories we've heard. The source, it lives in you?" The girl's lips trembled, but she nodded. "Yes." The cavern went silent again. Then, slowly, the older man lowered his weapon. "If that's true, you're worth more than 1,000 armies. But that also means you're a curse to anyone near you." The boy stepped forward, standing between the rebels and the girl. Then, "Curse me with her, I'll take it." The older man's eyes flicked over him, surprised by the courage in his voice. Finally, he gave a sharp nod. "So be it. But understand this, if the Order finds this place, it's not just your lives that end, it's all of ours." The rebels moved aside, allowing them into the hidden camp carved into the cavern. Fires burned in barrels, old weapons were stacked in crates, and maps covered the walls. Children hid behind their mothers, staring with wide eyes. For the first time, the human boy saw that he wasn't the only one fighting to survive. There were others, families, warriors, broken but unyielding. The girl sank onto a bench, her brother curled into her side. For a moment, her face softened, almost peaceful. The boy sat across from her, pipe still in hand, dirt covering his face. He felt out of place among these rebels, but he also felt something else. Purpose. The older man approached. "You've stepped into a war you don't understand, boy. The Order isn't just hunting her, they're hunting the truth itself. If her family's secret is revealed, it will shatter their empire." The boy frowned. "And if it falls?" The man's eyes hardened. "Then chaos follows. Empires don't die quietly. Millions will burn before freedom comes." The boy looked at the girl. She met his gaze without flinching. "Then we burn with them," she said softly. "Or we fight for something better." The man stared at her for a long time, then finally nodded. "Very well, we'll protect you, but you need to be ready. The Order won't wait. They'll come soon." That night, as the camp settled into uneasy silence, the human boy sat awake by the fire. He could hear the rebels sharpening blades, the hum of old weapons being tested. He could hear the child's quiet breathing as he slept in his sister's arms. And he could feel the weight of destiny pressing on him. He wasn't just a survivor anymore. He was standing on the edge of a war that would decide everything. And for the first time, he wasn't afraid, because now he had something worth fighting for. Asterisk. The cavern was restless. The rebels sharpened their weapons and prepared traps, their faces tight with dread. They knew the Order would not stop searching. Every hour the girl remained alive was an insult to the Empire. And insults were punished with fire. The human boy sat near the entrance, gripping his broken pipe as if it were a sword. He was not a soldier, but tonight he would have to fight like one. The alien girl sat with her brother, whispering words in her own tongue. Her pale hair glowed faintly in the firelight, her eyes carrying both fear and defiance. The boy watched her quietly. He had seen beauty before, but never like this, beauty made sharper by pain, stronger by survival. She caught his gaze and gave the faintest nod. It was enough to remind him why he had promised. The older rebel leader approached. His armor creaked and his face was set like stone. "They'll come," he said. "When they do, you don't run. You stand, you protect. You remember what you're carrying." His eyes narrowed at the boy. "Do you understand?" The boy nodded, though his chest felt heavy. "I understand." The rebel clapped his shoulder, then turned back to the others. The first attack came just after midnight. The tunnel shook with thunder as explosives shattered stone. Dust rained from the ceiling, and screams rose from the shadows. The rebels rushed to their stations, weapons blazing. The boy leapt to his feet, dragging the girl and her brother behind cover. Flashes of light filled the cavern. The order poured. In armored soldiers with scanners glowing red, rifles firing streaks of plasma that burned the air. Their voices barked commands in unison, cold and mechanical. The rebels fought fiercely, blades and bullets clashing against technology. The boy's heart hammered as a soldier lunged at him. He swung the pipe with every ounce of strength. The kambu. Metal cracked against the soldier's helmet, sending him staggering. Fear screamed at him to run, but rage pushed him forward. He struck again and again until the man collapsed. For the first time, the boy felt the heat of real battle, and he did not fall back. The girl cried out as two soldiers broke through the line, rushing toward her. The boy dropped his pipe and grabbed the fallen soldier's weapon. It hummed in his hands, heavy and alien. He barely knew how to aim, but instinct guided him. He fired, and the first soldier fell. The second turned on him, firing back. Sparks exploded against the stone wall beside his head. The girl drew her blade and met the second soldier head-on. She moved with speed that startled even the rebels, her silver hair flashing as she cut through his armor. He collapsed at her feet, and she turned back to shield her brother. The boy stared at her in shock. She had not looked fragile in that moment. She had looked like fire. The battle raged. Rebels fell one by one, but the order's bodies piled higher. Still, more soldiers poured in, endless as a tide. The boy fought beside the girl, protecting her brother with every strike, every shot, every scream of his own muscles. Then the ceiling cracked. Explosives shook the cavern again, and stone rained down. Dust blinded them as a section of the roof collapsed. The boy grabbed the girl and shoved her away from the falling rocks, his own shoulder slamming hard against the ground. Pain ripped through him, but he forced himself up. The older rebel leader roared orders, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Fall back! Protect the source!" His eyes locked on the girl. "Get her out!" The boy's chest tightened. The rebels knew. They knew she carried the bloodline that terrified the Empire. They weren't just protecting her. They were protecting the secret inside her. The girl shook her head, defiant. "I will not leave them." The leader's face twisted with anger. "If you stay, we all die for nothing." Another blast shook the cavern. The child screamed as soldiers surged through the dust. The boy fired wildly, forcing them back. His lungs burned, his arms ached, but he did not let go of the rifle. The girl knelt beside her brother, clutching him tight. She looked at the human boy then, her pale eyes shining. "If I fall, the source dies with me. If I live, the war changes. That is why you are here. You are the one who must decide." The boy stared at her, blood dripping down his cheek, chest heaving. He realized she was right. Every choice he had made since meeting her had led to this. He wasn't just protecting her. He was protecting the future itself. The rebels fought like wolves in the dark, but the order pressed harder, their voices chanting in unison, their rifles glowing red. The cavern burned with plasma and fire. The boy pulled the girl and child back through the tunnels as the rebels covered their retreat. Each step tore at his heart, knowing men and women were dying to hold the line. The leader's final words echoed behind them. "Run, boy. Protect her. Protect the source." And then the tunnel collapsed, sealing the rebels behind stone and smoke. The girl clutched her brother and pressed against the boy's shoulder as they stumbled through the dark. Her tears burned trails down her pale face, but her voice was steady. "We cannot stop now. They will come again, stronger." The boy nodded, though his heart ached. The order had taken everything from him before. Now, they had taken the rebels too. But for the first time, he felt something burning hotter than grief. He felt fury, and he swore silently, as he led the alien girl and her brother through the endless tunnels, that the Empire would pay for every life stolen tonight. The tunnels carried them far from the cavern, but silence did not bring safety. The human boy could still hear the screams of the rebels in his head, their last stand echoing like a drumbeat. Every step he took was heavy with guilt, but every time he looked at the alien girl and her brother, he remembered why the rebels had chosen to fall. They had died to give the Source a chance to live. The girl walked beside him, pale and silent. Her silver hair clung to her face, wet with tears she refused to wipe away. The child slept against her shoulder, exhausted from fear and running. The boy carried the stolen rifle, its glow faint now, but still alive. He didn't feel like a soldier, but tonight he had no choice. He was the only shield left between them and the Empire. At last, they reached the surface. The night sky stretched wide, stars hidden behind smoke. Fires burned in the distance where the city once stood. Patrol ships swept across the sky, their searchlights cutting through the dark like blades. The boy led them into the ruins of an old temple, its walls cracked but still standing. For now it was sheltered. Inside, the girl laid her brother down and finally turned to the boy. Her eyes glowed faintly, not with tears, but with something deeper. "It will not stop," she whispered. "The Order will chase us until the end of time. Unless we end it first." The boy frowned. "How?" She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a trembling whisper. "I told you about the Source. You must see it now. You must understand why they fear us." She knelt and pressed her hand to her chest. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a light began to bloom beneath her skin, soft and silver, like a star burning inside her. It spread through her veins, glowing in delicate lines across her arms and neck. The boy's eyes widened. He felt the air shift, heavy with power, as though the temple itself bowed beneath it. The child stirred and reached out, his small hand glowing faintly with the same silver light. The boy stumbled back. "What is this?" The girl's voice trembled. "It is life and death, creation and ruin. My family was chosen long ago to carry it. The Source can build a world or burn one. The Order wants to chain it, twist it into their weapon. But free, it can destroy their empire." The boy stared at the light pulsing beneath her skin, at the way it painted the stone walls with brilliance. "If you use it, will you survive?" Her lips pressed tight. She didn't answer. Before she could, the temple doors shattered. Soldiers stormed in, armored and ruthless. Their scanners locked on the glow in her veins. The boy raised his rifle, firing until the weapon screamed in his hands. Soldiers fell, but more rushed forward, endless as the tide. The girl cried out, holding her brother tight as bolts of plasma rained down. The boy threw himself in front of her, his body catching the fire meant for her heart. Pain tore through him, but he stayed standing. His teeth clenched as he fired back, each shot fueled by fury. The leader of the soldiers stepped forward then, his armor heavier, his voice cold. "Surrender the Source, or watch the human die." The girl's eyes widened. She shook her head violently, but the boy turned, blood running down his face, and met her gaze. "Do it," he said. "Whatever it takes, end this." Her tears finally fell. She kissed her brother's head, whispered a word in her own language, then stood tall. The silver glow spread brighter, flooding the temple like dawn. The soldiers faltered, their weapons shaking. The leader roared an order, but it was too late. The girl raised her hands. The Source erupted. Light burst across the temple, blinding, endless. The ground shook, the walls cracked, and the soldiers were thrown back like dust in a storm. The boy fell to his knees, shielding the child with his body as the power roared past. It was not fire, not lightning, not any weapon he had ever known. It was everything, life blooming and death burning in the same breath. When the light faded, silence fell. The soldiers were gone. Only ashes remained where they had stood. The temple walls glowed faintly, etched with silver lines like veins of living stone. The girl collapsed, her glow fading. The boy caught her before she hit the ground, her body trembling in his arms. Her eyes fluttered open, weak but alive. "It is done," she whispered. "They know now that we are not broken. They will fear us, and they will come again." The boy looked down at her, his arms shaking with exhaustion. "Then let them come," he said. "I'll be here. I'll fight with you. Always." The girl's lips curved into the faintest smile. Her brother stirred, opening his glowing eyes, and for the first time since the war began, hope filled the room. Outside, the night sky was still burning, the empire still vast and powerful. But in the ruins of an old temple, a human boy and an alien girl had lit a fire the order could never put out. The family's darkest secret was no longer hidden, it was alive. And with the human by their side, it would never be silenced again.